The sky bled red, as if the heavens themselves had caught fire. Long ago, in the ancient folds of Africa, there lived a kingdom called Nsuba, rich in culture, alive with music, and bound by a dark secret. By day, Nsuba laughed. The market sang with voices, and every trader swore their goods could heal your problems, even your debts. Laughter was never far. Who could forget the day one drunk man tried to wrestle a goat, swearing it was a spirit in disguise? But when night fell, Nsuba shut its doors. For everyone knew, the spirits also danced after dark. At the heart of Nsuba sat King Yoki, the unsleeping, his gaze sharp as an eagle, his will stronger than iron. By his side was Prince Oba, brave yet stubborn, daring to ask questions no one else would dare. His questions unsettled the elders. For tradition was their crown, and Oba's doubts were thorns. One evening, the sky bled red, as if the heavens themselves had caught fire. Then came the whisper, curling into every ear, Ejika, the time has come. Oba looked to the bleeding sky and whispered,
If this is truly tradition, why does it taste like death?
Then, the wind answered with a laughter not of man. In the heart of the forest, long before the festival began, the first hunters of Nsuba knelt under the choking breath of the spirits, sealing a pact that would haunt generations. The priest of shadows offered the blood of beasts, swearing that Nsuba's glory would never fall, as long as blood continued to flow. The spirits came, not as angels of peace, but as beasts of terror. Their demand was simple, blood for protection, or silence forever. One by one, the hunters gave their blood, their oaths binding the kingdom to a fate darker than they could ever imagine. The first king of Nsuba sat in silence, knowing well that his kingdom's survival had been purchased with shadows. That night, the heavens wept black rain, a sign that Nsuba was no longer a land of men alone, but of spirits who thirsted. The dance of blood was born, a ritual to awaken shadows who would fight for Nsuba when war came knocking. But not all were meant to see. Those who spied on the pact were never seen again, swallowed by shadows. The pact was sealed. From that day, Nsuba's hunters did not fight alone, shadows fought beside them. But beneath the altar, the earth swallowed their blood, whispering a prophecy that never dies, it only waits. The hunters entered the forest of whispering shadows, a place where the trees had ears, and the winds carried secrets older than kings. They were not alone. The forest was awake, and it was watching. Legend said the spirits of fallen hunters were trapped within the bark, whispering warnings to those who dared enter. Something moved, too fast for the eye, too heavy for the wind. It was the first sign of the hunt becoming the hunted. They stumbled upon an ancient shrine, proof that man was not the only hunter in this forest. The forest punished fear. To run was to surrender. To surrender was to die. Okoye knew this was no ordinary hunt. The spirits demanded courage, or they demanded blood. Ero heard it first, the voices calling his name, soft and chilling, as though the trees themselves mocked him. They thought they were hunters, but the shadows had gathered, waiting for the feast. And then, it revealed itself. The true master of the forest. The one who had waited centuries for blood. In the dead of night, the elders of Nsuba gathered in the sacred hut, to renew the oath their fathers had made with the spirits. An oath soaked in blood. They called it the calabash of eternity, a vessel where blood never dried. Tonight, it demanded a new sacrifice. The chosen hunters were summoned, not for honor, but for something darker, a pledge that would stain their souls forever. The blood oath was not words alone. Flesh had to be torn, blood had to be spilled, to bind men and spirits as one. They were never alone in the ritual. The spirits hovered, hungry and impatient, craving the promise of more blood. One by one, they drank from the cursed bowl, sealing their fate with the taste of blood. When Nato fainted at the first sip, the elders hissed, "Rise, boy, Even the spirits laugh at your weakness. The spirits answered with fire, a sign that the oath had been accepted. Nsuba's fate was sealed once again. And then came Yoki, the king himself, the man who carried the weight of the oath, and the fear of breaking it. Bound by blood, hunted by spirits, and trapped by tradition, the hunters stepped into the forest, unaware of the horror that awaited. The elders gathered in fear, for the pact with the spirits had been broken. What was once hidden in whispers was now painted in blood. The spirits no longer waited in the forest. They walked boldly into the land of men, hungering for what was owed. The hunters laughed to mask their fear, but even their blades trembled. One foolish tongue spoke what must never be spoken, and was silenced by his own blood. The sacred totem shattered, and with it, the last thread holding men and spirits in peace was torn apart. The forest no longer belonged to men. It had become a mouth, waiting to swallow them whole. Even the shadows betrayed their owners, choosing the night over the living. King Yoki rose, his voice thundering across the land.
If the spirit wants blood, then blood they shall taste.
The women of Nsuba sang songs of old, but the earth beneath their feet answered with a growl, not a blessing. Some victories tasted like curses, for the spirits dressed themselves in the skin of the hunt. The festival did not stop. The drums beat louder, the dancing grew wilder, but not every dancer was alive. The hunters stepped beyond the borders of their world, into a forest where the trees whispered names, and the moon watched like an unblinking eye. They called it the Tree of Passage, a warning carved in nature itself. Beyond this, the land no longer belonged to men. Even the rivers had defied nature. Here, fish swam in the air, and the water refused to obey gravity. The spirit world laughed at men's understanding. Something followed them. Not footsteps, not breath, but a presence that pressed on their chests like a heavy stone. They found a road paved with bones. Each skull spoke, warning them, mocking them, yet drawing them deeper in. At last, they stood before the gate of Eri. The door that men should never open, yet curiosity is a stubborn flame. They crossed. And in that moment, they were no longer hunters of the forest, they had become trespassers of the dead. The dead hunters welcomed them, their empty eyes whispering, "You will soon join us." The first guardian appeared, half man, half beast. The spirit world had finally noticed their intrusion. And so, the first battle began. The living against the unliving. A fight where no hunter was certain if victory was even possible. On the seventh night, the blood moon returned, burning brighter than ever before. It was no longer just a festival, it was a judgment. King Yoki, the mighty ruler, now trembled. He had made a deal with the spirits, but spirits do not honor men, they devour them. The hunters returned broken, those who survived. For what they fought were no longer beasts of the forest, but the anger of forgotten gods. The drum of Ijika began to beat on its own. No man touched it, yet its voice thundered across the kingdoms. From the bowels of Nsuba, fire erupted. The spirits had come to claim what was theirs, the souls of men. Yet, in the chaos, a child appeared. Unknown, untouched, unshaken. Whispers called him the chosen of fire. The spirits no longer hid. They walked among men, horned, winged, snarling, laughing at human fear. Mama Ijoba, the last priestess, rose to challenge the fire. Her voice cracked with power, but her body was frail. The kingdoms had failed. Their unity, broken. Their pride, shattered. Only ashes remained to dance with the wind. And then, the child spoke.
Ijika has only begun.
The blood moon cracked, spilling rivers of fire. The forbidden fire had been unleashed. But in the silence after the fire, the wind carried a whisper too dark to ignore. The forbidden fire was not an ending, it was an awakening. The gods were not done. The child was not safe. and Nsuba had only seen the first spark. When the drums beat again, will men bow, or will they burn? Season 2 awaits, if you dare.